Hello darlings! So in my video at the end of last year, I did say that I was going to be doing a whole video talking about my vintage sort of tattoo journey. So that is what you're watching right now. You can't see from looking at me just here, but I do actually have 5 tattoos, all of which I got over the course of 2023. I will be going through them, where my kind of inspirations came from, how I found them in terms of pain, in terms of healing, and what I do for aftercare, and just talking a little bit generally about the process of deciding to get them and finding a tattoo artist and all of that kind of thing. So in terms of my history with tattoos, I was actually one of those people that was always very certain that I was never going to get tattoos. And this wasn't necessarily because I didn't like the way that they looked. The main reason for that is the same reason I never thought I was going to get any piercings, and that is because I used to have a severe needle phobia. I still do struggle with it quite a lot, especially with regards to medical things like blood tests or injections, but I am, as you can see, quite pierced now, and I do now have my tattoos. And I found that the process of getting tattooed it didn't really set off my issues with needles, because it's very different to a blood test, and it really doesn't look like anything. It looks like a little pen. So the appearance of it and the process really didn't cause any problems for me. So once I had started getting my piercings, I do have a video about the process of getting some of my piercings. I did it last year when I think I mostly just had helix piercings. But it is still fairly applicable, and I do also have a video on my TikTok about my experience of getting my septum pierced. But once I had started getting my piercings, I started thinking about tattoos more from a standpoint of, okay, I know that it is something that I could handle getting, so is it something that I would be interested in doing? I did find a design once I started looking into tattoos on Pinterest and that sort of thing. I did find a design very quickly that really caught my eye, which has actually influenced some of the finished tattoo work that I have on me now. And that is, I will throw up a few pictures around me, go. So the basic premise was hearts at the bottom of my leg, bows at the top, and then a seam line, like a stocking seam, in the middle. It was something that friends around me were quite supportive of. They thought it would look really cool, and a lot of my friends are tattooed or really enjoy that kind of thing, so I had a very sort of supportive group of people around me. My parents were very much in the wagon of, make sure you think really carefully about what you want done and make sure you're going to be happy with it, but that they would obviously support me, which was great. I then, at the tail end of 2022, as I have alluded to in a couple of videos, went through an extraordinarily difficult time. I was incredibly sick, and I basically told myself during that time, I was like, right, if I get through this, I'm going to get the tattoos that I want in 2023. So in November of 2022, I went and I had a consultation with my gorgeous, wonderful, amazing tattoo artist, whose links I will put in the description, Georgie. So I found her by going onto Instagram, looking at tattoo shops in my area and just looking at the different artists' Instagrams. And I found Georgie, and I found that she had done a lot of colour work, which was something that was really important for me, because I knew I didn't want any black and white tattoos. I wanted all colour, and I just really liked a lot of the work that she did. I went in for a consultation, explained what kind of things I was thinking about, and she recommended that I get a smaller tattoo as a starting point and then work up to the bigger tattoos, which were the bows, rather than trying to get everything done in one session, which I will say was absolutely the correct decision. I started out in January of 2023 with getting my first set of tattoos, which are 2 hearts at the bottom of my leg, just above my ankle. Everyone is very impressed generally when I say that these are my first tattoos, because they do look like they're going to be on the sort of Achilles tendon. I actually did cheat it a bit. I had them placed just above kind of where the main part of the tendon is, so that it wouldn't be as painful. And I did just really like that placement. And they are just 2 hearts, black outline with a magenta red filling. I was so nervous to get them done. I was really worried because I had no frame of reference for what it was going to feel like. So my tattoo artist, she said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a dot. Just a single dot of the black outline so you can see how it feels, and then we're going to go from there. And I was like, okay. Oh my god. Oh, is that it? And she was like, yeah, that's it. I was like, go crazy. So my parents came with me for that. My mum has some tattoos, so she was a really good person to sort of sit with me, and my dad just wanted to come. And my mum stayed with me through the whole of the appointment, which I think these only took about, I want to say 40 minutes all told. Then I had my first set of tattoos. They are the most visible that I have, just because they are on the lower half of my legs. You can see them pretty much every day unless I'm wearing trousers or sort of black tights. And I really love them. They've held up really well. I know I've only had them for about a year now, but they've held up really well. They look really gorgeous, and I love the fact that they are really symmetrical. So the next tattoos that I got was actually a much quicker decision process. The hearts and bows I knew I wanted for, I would say, roughly about a year. But the next tattoo that I got is one that I can actually show you, and it is my starburst tattoo. So if I put my leg up here, you can see I have a line of sort of atomic starbursts just along my upper thigh. Now, this was a decision that I made for partly personal reasons of the placement that I won't really get into, but also just because I knew I wanted kind of an atomic 50s starburst tattoo somewhere on my body, and I just liked that placement. I like that it is fairly hidden, but when I wear shorts or my little short kind of 40s summer dresses, you can see it. I think it's really pretty, and I love the fact that they are all colour. There is no black in this tattoo at all. It is all dark red and burgundy and bright pink, and they are so gorgeous. They were done by Georgie. Again, all of my tattoos are by the same artist. I found the person I trust her wholeheartedly, and I'm quite, when I find a person that I trust with things like that, I tend to cling quite heavily to them. In terms of comparable pain, I would say that the tattoo on my upper thigh was about the same level of pain as the tattoos on the bottom of my leg. It did take slightly longer just because there was more to the tattoo, but it was still quite small little pieces. There were some bits that were a bit more ouchy than others, but that was just because of the skin that is up there. Some of it was a little bit more tender. But I think they were about comparable. I would say that upper thigh and lower leg were a really easy place to have tattooed, on me at least. I would rate the pain at about 4. Yeah, about a 4 out of 10 for both of those tattoos. Strangely, I also got, because a little bit of ink had dropped out of the same leg that I got this tattoo out of the heart, so we just got that touched up, and touching up that tattoo was more painful than getting the entirety of this one done, which was really interesting. But once I had that in, I knew that it was time for the big project, which was the bows. So I was really lucky in that my parents actually helped me pay for the bows as a birthday present. I turned 26, and they were so kind in offering to help me pay for those. So I knew it was going to be a big project. I knew I was going to be tattooed for quite a long time. I knew that it was going to be more painful than any of my others, both because of location, size, and the fact that it was full colour. So I was sort of mentally prepping myself, but I knew that it was something that I absolutely wanted. You'll notice that I'm not mentioning the seamed stocking line that I mentioned in my initial tattoo idea, and that is because I decided that, as cute as it would look, I wear way too many actual seamed stockings, and the stress of trying to line them up with a permanent tattoo on the back of my leg would drive me absolutely round the bend. So I decided to drop that element. And that is something I would say is, if you have initial tattoo ideas, don't be worried if they kind of shift and evolve throughout time and throughout the process of getting them. I think that's completely normal. And also be open to advice, but stick to what you know you love. So in November, I got the bows done. They are the tattoos that I am probably the most proud of. They are a lot bigger than a lot of people thought they were going to be, and they were also the most expensive. I haven't really touched on tattoo price. Obviously every artist's prices vary slightly. I would say all in all I've probably spent about close to between £400 and £500 all told on all 5 of my tattoos combined. I remember that I think my first ones were about, I want to say around 80. My Starburst line was somewhere in the region of 100, and I want to say that my bows were between 250 to 280, but I can't remember exactly. Tattoos are generally expensive, and in my opinion they are completely worth it. If I'm going to spend money on getting a professional artist to put something permanently into my skin, I'm going to pay them for their time, I'm going to pay them for their craft, and I'm going to pay them what they are worth. Obviously piercings can be taken out, makeup can be taken off, hair colour can be grown out, or you can cut or shave your hair off. If something goes wrong in your skin, you're very limited on options, and I am a perfectionist. So I knew I wanted it to be exactly right and exactly what I wanted, and I am so happy with how all of my tattoos have come out, and I am so happy with the decisions that I made in terms of my artist and in terms of listening to her advice on kind of how to get them done and assisting me with like colours and placement and all that kind of thing. So my bows took, in the end, about 3 hours. And I discovered some things about tattooing that day, let me tell you. For a start, the outline was by far the most painful part. I would rate that as easily an 8 to 8.5 out of 10. We started on my left side, and I remember thinking, oh my goodness, this is really something. The back of your thigh is quite sensitive skin, so it was a lot more sensitive and painful than the other tattoos I had gotten, just because of the placement, especially as we got down closer to sort of the inner knee area. And I was like, okay, that sucked, but I think I can do it again. Only got to get the outline once, it's all fine. Then we discovered I am far more sensitive on the right side of my body. I would say that the outline on the right side of my body easily kicked up to a 9. It was incredibly difficult for me to get through. I was swearing, I was clinging to a fluffy hat that my mum had brought. I was clinging to it. I was entering the mind palace. It was intense. It was intense. And I was very, very, very happy that it was over. Even the subsequent sort of 2 hours of colour, I would take any day over getting the outline done on this side of my body again. We decided to go for a very, very, very dark red instead of a black. This was a decision that me and Georgie made. She did initially encourage, you know, say that black would probably be the best just because it is such a large colour piece, but we eventually decided that the dark red would probably hold up just as well. It would look really good with the rest of the tattoo, and we just decided to go for it. And I have to say, obviously they are only a few months old, but I think the red looks absolutely gorgeous. I really, really am happy that I went for that instead of a black. And I would definitely recommend just talking to your artist about outline colours and what they think would be best. So after the outline came the full colour, and this was the thing that I was the most nervous for initially, although it did end up still being not quite as bad as the outline. It was a very, very intense experience. I didn't cry, but it was close a few times. My tattoo artist was saying, you know, it's fine if you cry. I got a tattoo a couple of weeks ago and I cried during the last sort of hour or so. I was like, okay, that makes me feel way better. I did swear a lot. The whole back of your thigh, I have discovered, is very sensitive in different areas and in different ways. So I would say the most painful were probably the bits, obviously, at the bottom, closer to my inner knee, the bits of my inner thigh. Those two areas, as I remember it, were probably the worst. We started on the more sensitive side, which I think was absolutely the correct decision. And I had Dr. Pepper with me, I had had a sandwich beforehand, and I had a packet of crisps and a chocolate bar. The chocolate bar I was saving for afterwards, and the packet of crisps I munched in the break between doing the first colour and the second colour. It was a break both for my tattoo artist and also for me, so that I could emotionally recover and prepare myself to get the second leg done. I think 3 hours, I've discovered, at that level of colour would probably be my limit. I don't imagine that I would want to necessarily go for too much longer than that. The last sort of 20 minutes of, maybe not that long, the last sort of 10 minutes at least, of getting my final leg completely finished and filled in were quite rough, because I found that I was just quite tired of the sort of pain of it. So keep that in mind as well for your tattoo sessions. Remember, everyone's pain level is quite different. I would say generally I have a fairly low pain tolerance, so that's something to keep in mind, whether your pain tolerance is lower or higher. Just listen to your body and talk to your artist about it, and you can sort of make a decision between the two of you on what the best options are for bigger pieces, especially with colour, and how many sessions you should do. In terms of once a tattoo is finished, you've then got the healing process. I've been quite lucky in that I think all of my tattoos have healed very, very well. For colour tattoos, I keep them wrapped for at least a day afterwards. So I've gotten all of my tattoos on a Saturday, and I will keep them wrapped up until the Sunday before I go to bed, and change the cling film every 4 hours if possible, and when you're changing the cling film, I wipe off all of the gunk. There's gunk. If you've never gotten tattooed, if you don't know anything about tattoos, there's gunk. There's sort of plasma and a little bit of bleeding. So just gently rinse that off with sort of cool to warmish water. Pat dry very gently, and then cover again with the cling film. I found that the bows were the most difficult to heal because they were such big pieces for me, and they flaked a lot more than my other tattoos did, just because they were so big and solid and solidly coloured, and they were very hot. I remember we went out for dinner the night that I got them done, and I was just like, I can just feel how hot the backs of my legs are right now, which is not surprising. It is not something to be worried about. It is just because you have been repeatedly stabbed and had ink injected into your skin over a period of hours, and your body is trying to figure out why. I absolutely love all of my tattoos, and I would recommend anyone who is thinking about getting them done to absolutely go for it. Once the cling film is off, you can begin the process of peeling your skin like a snake. During this time, while your skin is sort of like healing and you start peeling off and all of that kind of thing, your tattoos can look a little bit more faded. Please don't panic. That is, from what I have looked up, completely normal. It is just a part of the healing process, and I can say now that mine are pretty completely healed. They are nice and bright and gorgeous and beautiful all over again. It may be that a little bit of ink can drop out during the healing process, and that is something that you can generally go and get touched up by your artist for free, especially if you have been taking really good care of it and it's just, you know, a natural byproduct of the healing. I use tattoo butter, and I also use cocoa butter to moisturize my tattoos. A very thin layer, either 2 or 3 times a day depending on the size of the piece. For my hearts and my starburst tattoo I did twice a day, morning and evening, and for my bows I did 3 times a day, so I did one at lunch as well, just because they were bigger and I wanted them to really last, and I did check that with my tattoo artist and she said it was fine. So some common questions are, have you had any negative reactions to your tattoos? No. My grandparents were quite shocked. But I would say that everyone has been really complimentary about my tattoos and thought that they are really gorgeous, which is the correct response because they are absolutely stunning, if I do say so myself. I mean, I did nothing except lie there. All of the credit goes to Georgie. She did beautiful work. Would you get any more tattoos? Absolutely. I just haven't decided on designs yet. I would really love to get a symmetrical tattoo sort of around here, but I can't decide on the exact sort of placement, and I also don't have a definitive design that I really like, and it's not a process that I want to rush at all because this area is so visible. So I really want to make sure that it's completely perfect. I'm also thinking about possibly a back one here. I don't have any plans to tattoo my arms at the moment, just because I don't have any designs or placements or anything that I really like the idea of. That's just a personal thing. Tattooing is so personal, and you really want to make sure that it is right for you. When my mum got some of her tattoos, she put the design that she wanted up on our living room mirror, and she left it there for 6 months. So she walked past it every single day to make sure that she really loved it enough to want to have it on her body. And I think that's a really great way to get a design kind of figured out in your mind. If you get really bored of it, or you're not loving the look of it and it's not even on your skin yet, that might be a sign that you need to adjust something about it so you're completely happy with it. I genuinely would not change a thing about any of my tattoos right now. except maybe to expand this one because I love my starbursts and I think I kind of want more of them. But I am so happy with the designs. I was really set on it. I knew exactly what I wanted and I had very clear inspirations in my head. And I think that is something that is really important, especially if you're someone like me who struggles with quite a lot of perfectionism. It is very important to make sure that you are completely happy with the inspirations and the designs that you're going with. Do you think you are less authentic or anything like that when you have tattoos? Obviously, I have a vintage sort of style and I really don't care about my tattoos not being authentic. They are kind of vintagey inspired, you know, they're very girly, they're very me, but most of the people I know in the swing dancing and vintage scene have tattoos or hair colours, everyone has a hair colour, kind of bright hair colours, or piercings or something. There are a lot of people I know who are incredibly heavily tattooed, including the women, and I just think it adds to your look. It's an expression of your personality, it's an expression of your style, and I absolutely love it. I will always be in favour of people getting tattoos if they want them, and I would say also don't be afraid of judgment. Don't be afraid of people's reactions. If people react really negatively, that doesn't mean your tattoo is bad, and that doesn't mean that it doesn't look great. It just means that that particular person has a negative view on tattoos, whether or not it's on you, and it kind of says more about them than it does about you. My tips: eat before you get tattooed. You do not want to have a sugar crash in the middle. Trust me here. If you are nervous, concerned, have any questions, please ask your tattoo artist. They are there to help. They do not expect you to know everything. They do this for a living and you probably don't. So absolutely ask them any questions or concerns you have, whether that's about the process of tattooing, whether that's about the appointment, the healing, the aftercare, what you are and shouldn't really do, design, colour, different forms of colours. Any question that you possibly have, please ask them. Also, don't be afraid to ask for the design or the colours to be slightly changed. My tattoo artist will draw the design up on the day and then show me, and we can kind of talk about it. And I think, except my starbursts, I have adjusted all of the tattoos in some way, whether that is colour, whether that is design or shape. In terms of like the finer details, I have changed them every time, and I am so happy that I did. You're not insulting them, you are making sure that the two of you together are creating the perfect piece of body art for yourself. My tattoos were 110% for me. If no one else had liked them, I still would have gotten them. And I honestly see it as a massive almost form of self-care or self-affirmation and self-belief that I got them done, because it is a trust in myself, it's a trust in my aesthetic, it's a trust in my decisions, and they make me so incredibly happy. Sometimes I will just stare at them with joy and pride. And I cannot wait to continue my sort of aesthetic journey. I think that I will definitely get more in the future, and I'm really looking forward to it. If you have any other questions about tattoos, whether they are mine or whether they are in general, then please do drop them in the comments below, because I would love to talk about this. I hope that this video was fun or entertaining or interesting in some way. I do have little vlogs of all of my tattoos almost being done on my Instagram and my TikTok, so I will leave all of my social media in the description below. And my job with this channel is to spread happiness and sparkles, so I hope I've done that for you in some way today, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye! Also, the makeup today is absolutely gorgeous. I will take no argument with that. Absolutely none. Stunning. My eyebrows match my hair. Come on.